Welcome to the KFiles. Today we are investigating the sad conclusion to Christmas two-parter Christmas Carol, Emily. It's a real bummer.
Christmas, XFiles style.
Holidays.
Only the best.
Welcome back to the Lush Basement Office. It's holiday time here at Hollywood Redux, and so we're investigating all those very special holiday-themed episodes of the XFiles here on the KFiles. Just like this doozy of a tearjerker, Emily. Yeah. It's a real uplifting.
XFiles, man. They just know how to celebrate holidays, apparently. They know how to do it.
Yep. We're talking about the two-parter conclusion, Emily. We talked about Christmas Carol last week, which was similarly
it wasn't
optimistic.
as depressing, I would say.
Yeah.
This one just takes the cake, man.
Well, in the previous,
Poor Emily,
in
man.
Christmas Carol, Scully goes on this journey. She's visited by not necessarily ghosts of the past, but her own family from the past and her own self from the past. And she discovered that she wants to be a mother. She has new priorities now. She's understood that about herself through the experiences in this in particular episode arc. And so that's where she is coming into Emily. And in the top of Emily, we have this really beautiful dream sequence that is, Ingmar Bergman directed it, I think. Kim Manners directed it, but it's so, it feels like it's from another time, like it's from a film from the 30s, you know? It's a very cool sequence. Beautifully written. We didn't even talk about this last time. This two-parter is written by the Three Musketeers, Gilligan, Spotnitz, Shiban. They really are the utility players of the X-Files writing stable. They write some of the best and most heartfelt mythology, in my opinion. Vince Gilligan in particular, like, no matter what he's writing, Monster of the Week mythology, he always imbues, in my opinion, he imbues the characters with great psychology. Every character in his episodes seems to me to be operating in their own modus operandi. They all have motivations that propel them through the story. And that is, for me, the most satisfying writing. So it's nice to see. This episode, they've written that beautiful dream sequence at the top that has some really nice dialogue. Scully talks about it, the endless parade of souls, really lovely prose that is on a plateau, on a plane with anything that Chris Carter writes, in my humble opinion.
I feel like we get that a lot whenever it is a full-on Dana Scully episode. We just get these beautiful like dream sequences.
Yeah, I said it last week. She gets more visitations, Scully does, than anyone on the show. Ironic, considering she's the voice of science, the voice of practicality. But nonetheless, she's still a magical creature. She, we learn in the episode Milagro in the 6th season this special thing about Scully, which is that she has the power of miracles inside her. Right. She has the power of life inside her. She has the power to create life. She's like a really supernatural character. Yeah. So when things like this happen on the show around her, I tend to think it's no coincidence. It's Scully herself is a supernatural force. She propels these things to happen. Like, for example, in Christmas Carol, in the first part, she gets these phone calls that only she experiences. When the first phone call comes in, she calls up to Bill and Tara and says, "Bill, your phone's ringing," and nobody answers. No one is happening. It's only happening to her. It's this dream that's happening to her.
What a dream, man. Like, she pretty much just starts this whole adventure of her finding out what she thought was never going to be possible, of her being a mom. Like,
yeah,
what a journey, dude.
She thought that she couldn't have kids. She finds she has a kid. She's going to try and adopt Emily. She wants to be her mom.
A kid that she has to let go, man. Like, are you kidding me? Like, XFiles, episodes, man.
Well, luckily we do have some
So
Mulder in this
emotionally
episode.
draining.
Duchovny pops back in. We've got Mulder back, and he shows
What a
up.
good sport, man. Duchovny.
He promptly shows up and helps give Scully some relief and tells her the truth and does that sweet little moment with Emily where he does the Mr. Potato Head face. And God love Duchovny, you know, like he's sweet with that
such
little
good
girl.
moments in this.
Really cute with that little actress. Lauren DeWalt is the actress who plays little Emily.
Ah, yes,
we talked to her about her
girl.
a little bit on the last week, but in this week she really gets to
Okay, she's
act.
cute. She's cute. She's
Yeah.
convinced.
Well, you know, they had cast another actress previously, another little girl, to play that part, and they filmed the first episode. They filmed Christmas Carol with her, but then when they got to this episode, Emily, they were trying to film these sequences with her at the hospital where she had some terrifying things happen to her.
That gnarly thing in the back of her neck.
Well, we'll get to that. Whew. And that little actress couldn't handle it. She was crying. She wasn't able to film. So they had to
didn't make the cut, huh?
recast. They had to recast the part. And so they had to do some creative editing, and they had their schedule was so tight. They sent a second unit out to refilm key sequences from the first part with Gillian Anderson and Lauren DeWalt. And they filmed a lot of it with Gillian Anderson's stand-in body double, and they just did some really ingenious editing. And then in the second part, in this episode, they had to actually go in and use visual effects to change the little girl's costume. They had filmed her in different wardrobe, in wrong wardrobe, because of this flip-flopping they were doing.
Right, they're short.
And so the visual effects artists on the show had to go back in and essentially like re-wardrobe the actress.
That's insane, dude.
Yeah. But they did it. They pulled it together. The producer, R.W. Goodwin, I remember reading him talking about this, and he was like, this took years off my life. Like, it gave him gray hairs, this two-parter of getting these done because of the chicanery.
What was great no matter what, man. I would have never known that.
I think for me, what we didn't talk about last week that I would love to call attention to, of course, the directing from Kim Manners is always, top marks. But the DP, director of photography, Joel Ransom, he's the Vancouver director of photography. He doesn't get enough credit, I don't think. This two-parter looks beautiful. He shot them both beautifully, and for me, he shot Gillian's face so gorgeous, and it's the camera really does love her face in this, and we follow her face on this like beautiful journey of emotion because Gillian really does deserve to be featured. And she got some great stuff to play. The dream sequence, especially for me in the beginning, is very affecting with her, talking about the brevity of life and the real truth of it, which is that she doesn't come out right and say this, but this is really the truth of things, which is that, like, I'm going to die facing her mortality. I will one day be sand in the desert. Like, I will be one day, my ashes will be scattered. I will be dead. And I will be, that is something that you come to face on your own. Right. You are alone when you face that realization, that part of life, that part of consciousness. So that's what Scully's doing in this 2-episode arc, really, is like facing that. And she faces it because she has this little daughter, Emily, who is sick, who is suffering, who is dying, ultimately dying. And, that kind of reminds me of that Scully is facing this turning point in her life, and she in order to do that, some part of her has to kind of die and fall away, and then the other part kind of moves forward transformed. And that's like the meaning of Scully's character, essentially, is that like transformation. The Milagro, the Ouroboros, the snake eating its tail, it sheds its skin and becomes anew, but is perpetual. Whew, heavy mythology stuff, but that's what we're talking about. That's what the X-Files likes to dabble in regarding the Scully character, and I find it fascinating, personally. I love talking about it. There you have it.
Another happy X-Files episode, you guys.
I admit that it is not the most cheerful episode. However, it is a very cool episode.
It is. Don't get me wrong.
Fans of the show often complain about the Emily story arc because of how it appears for the characters and is very dramatic, but then ultimately
then it's like gone completely.
Its ramifications are very minor for the characters. Like, we never talk about Emily again. There's another child. They have William later on, and there's no real sense of like Emily. I don't know. I mean, part of the problem, Gillian Anderson talked about this back in the day when she was talking about acting in the episode. Part of the problem is just that the character Scully hasn't had a history with a little girl, so even though biologically that is her child, it's like there's no connection there beyond that. So how do you play that? That is a realistic portrayal of that relationship, where you don't have that, you have to kind of imagine what that would be like to meet your child and not know them, I guess.
Yeah.
But I think Gillian Anderson does a great job of walking on that fine line. Yeah, Emily, it's a Christmas on the X-Files is not necessarily the happiest of times.
No, it's not. X-Files.
Yeah. But we're coming to you next week with a new episode of the KFiles.
Maybe the next one will be a little bit happier.
And it is going to be a little bit more of a up message.
All right.
So
my hopes are back up, you guys.
Yeah.
You've convinced me.
Yeah. So thank you for joining us here on the KFiles. We're closing the case file on Emily and Christmas Carol. And we'll be coming to you next week with a new episode, and then we'll be taking some time off for the holidays. But thank you for joining us. And please stay tuned to Hollywood Redux into the new year. We've got a lot of great stuff happening on all of our other shows. And most exciting of all, we now have a store on the site. It's reduxgear.com. You're going to want to go check out some of the cool stuff we have.
Especially for the holidays, guys.
Yeah,
Come on,
check
man.
out for the holidays.
Check the site out.
Yep.
Shop for your loved ones.
Yep.
You're doing everyone a favor.
Yeah. And thank you for investigating here on the KFiles. I'm your host, Katie. You can find me at KMoles.
And I'm Chrysalia. You can find me at Chrysalia on all social medias. And we're coming at you from HollywoodRedux.com, guys.
HollywoodRedux.com.
Check out our video down below. Subscribe. You know the drill. See you guys.
Thank you.